Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz, and this is my video blog called Bullheaded, a weekly review of the Houston Texans as well as a preview of their upcoming game matchups. Now, the NFL season has finally arrived after months long waiting and suffering for some of you. So, with that being said, week one is going down, and with the Houston Texans, I could not be more excited to see what is about to happen when they play the Chicago Bears. But there's a couple of things I do want to address for week one and kind of just give my opinion and perspective on. The first thing I want to address is Brock Osweiler. For the most part, all eyes are going to be on Brock Osweiler. He's one of the key additions that the Texans added in the offseason. Reason being, they signed this quarterback to, $72 million, X amount of dollars guaranteed. But he is supposed to be the quarterback that is going to take over this position and hopefully fall into that quote unquote franchise quarterback spot. The thing about that is Osweiler's coming from the Denver Broncos as a backup quarterback. He only had 8 games last season playing behind Peyton Manning, who's like the god quarterbacks, god of quarterbacks, kind of like how Nas is, the rappers pretty much. But essentially, a lot of people are going to want to see like what can he do in a full season. For the longest time, like I mentioned, we've just been trying to fill that void. We've never had a true franchise quarterback or a true star quarterback. We had Matt Schaub before, and that flamed out in his last couple of seasons or whatever. And before him, it was just like pretty much any other quarterback. And who can forget last season's 4-quarterback carousel that somehow landed us or transported us into the playoffs, but ultimately it flamed out, and it was not an ideal situation for any of the parties involved. So with that being said, Brock Osweiler is coming in, and he's supposed to be this guy, this go-to guy that, hey, after this you're going to be here for like another 10 years or so. And that's pretty much the expectation. But there's also a little bit of skepticism given that, like I said, he's a former backup quarterback, only played a couple of games last season. And so there's a lot of questions as to, can he go the full season? Is his skill set up to par? So definitely a lot of people are going to be wondering about that. However, given the additions that the team has done this offseason, adding running back Lamar Miller, picking up a couple of wide receivers in the draft, it looks like he's going to have a pretty good cushion to make mistakes if need be, even though I think he's been in the league for like 4 years just about, or maybe a little bit longer than that. But he's going to have pretty good, like if he falls, it won't be too bad of a fall. So definitely he has some pieces around him that'll definitely improve his chances of keeping his job, because Tom Savage in the preseason, he was definitely great. I'm so glad he stayed healthy. I think that if he did stay healthy all these other seasons, he might be our starter now, but that's a whole other story and blog topic. But however, with the pieces that the Texans have added on offense, particularly with the wide receivers, who looked very impressive in the preseason as well, I think Osweiler will definitely be great, and he'll definitely make a good fit. So I personally cannot wait to see what he brings to this team and what's definitely going to be made out of this quarterback position. Now, I keep on looking over here because I want to kind of address this J.J. Watt coming back too soon type thing. Originally, when he was injured when he had back surgery, they said he was more than likely going to miss a couple of games. And now, the workhorse superhero that he is, everything is pointing to him starting on week 1. And so I'm kind of glad, that he's coming back early, that, he's probably all healed up, but I would rather have a JJ Watt that's 100% healed up instead of a JJ Watt that's 70% or 80% healed up. And I mean, I realize that, 70%, 80% JJ Watt is probably just as good or even better than quite a few of the defensive ends that are already out there in the league. But at the same time, you don't want him to like risk getting hurt again and missing out on more time. So definitely, I'm everybody's going to be keeping an eye on him, making sure that he's not being like used too much, and which they probably will use him too much. I mean, it's JJ freaking Watt. Come on, man. But definitely, we're gonna be watching and praying that he doesn't catch an injury that'll put him out for more time than what he's already coming back from. The other thing I wanted to address is Clowney, and I didn't even have it on my list really, but I was thinking about Clowney. He looked kind of good in the preseason. I think a lot of people are just kind of waiting to see what Clowney is actually going to do. Since his first year, he's just been plagued with injuries, and so I mean, even in a playoff game, this last season's playoff game against the Chiefs, he wasn't even cleared to play, and he allegedly ended up leaving the stadium, or he did leave the stadium, or whatever. But I believe like this might be the year that Clowney just shows, this is why you chose me, number one overall. This is why you even took me in the first place. So I can't wait to see what he actually has going on, or what he's actually going to put out there on the field. And it's definitely going to be a help, considering that JJ's coming back and he might not all the way be healthy. So it'll be something that I think a lot of offenses are going to try to keep an eye on, see if they need to like have an extra game plan for Clowney as well as Watt, or if they just need to just play regular or just go about their normal business. So with that being said, for the Texans to go out and win this game against the Chicago Bears on Sunday, all they have to do is just pretty much play their game. As I mentioned before, I've been watching most of the preseason, and this team looks pretty good. I'll say probably the worst part of the preseason might have been the opening half of that 49ers game, where they just could not seem to wrap up or tackle anything. And so in that second half, with the second and third stringers or whatever, they seem to grasp the concept of tackling a little bit better. But, I feel like they've finally, gotten that non-tackling habit out of their system, which was a huge thing that killed us last season when we started out in the beginning of the season on defense. So I think it sounds basic and generic just to say like all they need to do is go out there and play their game, stick to their game plan, and they'll win the game. But I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's week one of the NFL season. I mean, you can talk about the Chicago Bears, but I mean, at the same time, there's nothing really popping with them. They have Jay Cutler, they have Alshon Jeffrey. That's it, They're probably looking to gather their pieces up as well and see if they can come back to even a playoff berth. But I think opening on the road, there's not too much that you can just there's not too much extra that you can just do, just stick to that, just go out and beat these guys. Like I said, the Texans, they have a really solid team. They didn't have a lot of additions that they added or that they put on to the defense this past off season. Mainly the upgrades were all on the offense. So I think if the offense can just go out there, find a certain rhythm, whether it's mixing up the run and the pass, or just putting their receivers like all over the field, Braxton Miller, Will Fuller out of Notre Dame, those two rookies, just putting their speed like all over the field, whether in the slots or on the outside. Jalen Strong, who was emerging pretty well in the preseason as well. I would love to see him get some deep threat action in this game tomorrow, and pretty much they'll have it in the bag. Whether or not it's going to be a pretty victory or an ugly victory, that really still remains to be seen as well. And even though that sounds basic, also that's just straight up the truth. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's week one, so I'm expecting like there's going to be some mistakes made. If you looked at the game the other night between Carolina and Denver, both teams had some pretty glaring mistakes, on both sides of the ball, opening up in the first half, and then there was probably some mistakes made in the second half, hence why Denver was able to make their comeback. But at the same time, I think if the one main thing is if the Texans can just kind of minimize their early first half mistakes, I think they'll definitely be in a good spot to win this game and probably even do so convincingly. But with that being said, that's all I have for this week. You can check out this blog at www.brandonsimmons.biz. Until next week, I'll holla.